In 3, 2, 1, and we are live. So, hey, what's up? Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having
coming,
me.
Stephanie. Pleasure to have you. I know there's a few different interviews kind of led up to this. I know we've talked about it a few times, right? Of
Yes.
having you come onto this. So, so yeah, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited. First podcast. Been through a few different radio station interviews, but never a podcast. So,
You did radio interviews before?
yes, live radio interviews.
Oh, which ones?
There was a few in Michigan City. Two of them were FM. One of them was AM. Not at the top of my head. Can I name them off? But should have wrote those down.
Should have.
But two of them was with the full band, and one of them was with just one of the band members.
Got it. Okay. Cool. I have never done a radio interview though, so you definitely got me beat there. This is probably the fourth interview that I've done on a podcast though.
Oh, okay.
Of my own. So
Yeah, actually, one of them, I like to say his name is Tony Ortega. He did one in Michigan City. That was really nice to be part of. So I've done two with him.
is he a DJ?
No, he's not. He just does, well, you know what? He actually might do some DJing. Yes. He probably does do some DJing as part of it.
Remember there's someone years ago that I remember that was in South Bend that did some DJing with his last name, so I don't know if same
Oh,
person or
no.
not.
He's more linked towards the Chicago area,
Okay.
more or less.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, no, I'm really glad that, we are doing this today, and I've been, really curious about, for one, your band and just kind of some things you've been up to and things that you're getting into that I think is super neat. I'd love to kind of pick your brain on a little bit, kind of dive into more about you and kind of gather the background of you as an artist. Because, I mean, with all these podcasts I do, the reason I do it in the first place, I don't even know if I mentioned this to you, but it's just to give people that are local or somewhat local just the opportunity to kind of like have a spotlight kind of put on them. So I'm trying to do that with anyone that I do know as an artist and kind of just get to know more about you. What kind of gets you into it? What's your background? Why you're interested in it? So I feel like that'd be a great place to start and just kind of get into like the band you have now and then just kind of see where it goes from there. So
yeah, well, I respect that. I think a lot more local music and indie music needs to be heard versus mainstream. So I totally respect that.
Yeah, well, let's get into like what got you into music in the first place.
Cool, I got great stories.
All right.
So what got me into music was definitely my parents. Both my mother and my father play instruments, mom, piano, dad, drums. And then my dad's side of the family, they're all musicians. So not to bring up religion, but most people grow up on religion. And I grew up on right, wrong, love, hate, and music. And that's what it was. So while all my friends had the greatest clothes in school, my mom and dad was paying for music lessons for us. And so both my sister and I and my brother all played instruments throughout our time. So I played the violin, played the chime bells in school, and also the piano is my first instrument. So a little bit of guitar here and there. So really, it's a family tradition for me. And nevertheless did I know that those piano lessons I used to try to get out of as a child and a teenager would have been some of the best times of my life and my future.
Okay. That's really cool. So you started on piano.
Yes.
Yeah. And I know you also said you did a little bit of guitar and everything, but you'd say piano is like your main one that you like prioritize and everything.
Yes.
Okay. And I know you've written quite a bit of songs, specifically on piano. And there was one you played the last time I don't remember the name of it actually, but do you remember that one you did play for me one time? That was probably a month ago or so.
And you're like, that's like a good song.
Yeah, what was that one called?
Bad Decisions.
That's the one. Okay. How long ago did you write that one?
That song actually was in the past couple of years. I probably say like a year and a half ago.
All right.
I was just thinking about self-destructive women that have everything to provide to the world, but at the same time, they can be pretty self-destructive. They're kind to everything else in the world, but
Are you self-destructive?
Here comes trouble.
All right, that answers that.
It's a powerful song.
Yeah, that was really cool. I liked the melody of it. The flow of it was really neat. I felt like it was really kind of like going like this. Had a little bit of a roller coaster effect that it put you on. So I thought that was cool. I mean, that bit you played for, is that like completely finished, or are you still working on it?
It's completely finished. For the most part, when I bring a song to the table to the band, there's certain parts where like I envision like this could be a guitar lead, or this could be, the bass could do something. So I leave certain parts open and give that mic to them at that point. So playing it individually, I would have to make up for those lost gaps. Like if I were to go out and play them, because I do that sometimes.
Yeah.
But yes, it's pretty much finished.
Okay. And do you have like any plans for getting it recorded in like the near future, or is it, like where is it when it comes to that? Like, are you hoping to take that and release it sometime? Or?
I would have to say about Q1 of 2023.
All right, you're getting like a early start on it then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Prioritization. That's what that we're doing in the band. It's like taking these 5 songs. We're going to take like 5 out of the numerous amount of songs that we do have, all original. And we want to prioritize like which ones should we record first. And there's a few that are stronger than others. And I'd like to be able to, because we've never been able to actually, in the history of the Sex Robot Divas, been able to come out with like an actual recording that we can put up on SoundCloud and or Spotify. Just because when we started to finally get big, the pandemic hit, so it's put us a couple steps behind, or 2 years, however you want to look at it. So like we're ready for that, to finally like take some of that music. We played out a lot prior before the pandemic, and that's what gave us the confidence to say, we probably should start really doing some recordings. And we started that project, and it kind of came to a halt. It did.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely get that. I know like the pandemic and everything, that was a crazy time that it really put a lot of stuff on hold. I think around 2019, in December, there was a band I was playing with, and after that point, it was like near impossible to play anywhere. It was just the entire concept of performing and doing a show. We had no idea when that was going to be a thing again. So
the entire arts industry across the entire country, really, which was sad. But.
Yeah. But, if you are going to go into recording and everything and do anything online, I'd say it's definitely a smart move. Even with, the fact of going out and performing and doing that, also stacking on stuff online, that's just an obvious way to go. It's like,
Yeah.
Best of both worlds to do both for sure.
Well, and like something you actually taught me is like, if you just keep playing out, that's all you're going to do. If you have no content to share, then what do you have? You can go out there and say, hey, like I'm playing out. But then when you provide the name of your band or say your name, I mean, what do you have for them to go listen to afterwards besides just that moment?
Yeah, no, I remember a few months ago we talked on the phone a little bit about that, and I was kind of like, I think maybe I sort of like mentioned a few things, but I definitely talked about my frustration with, I actually don't know if I mentioned this, but I have done this before where I've played out a bunch of shows with a few musicians and everything, and we sound good and everything, but most of the set is covers. It's not original material, and it really does depend on like what kind of band are you and what is your goal. Because if your goal is like, hey, you just want to make money doing it, and you can, there's definitely the right venues and the right connections to do that, where you can just make a certain amount of money per show, and you can make a decent living off of that. You could, but if you're actually trying to make a name for your own band and that's a totally different story. You shouldn't really be prioritizing performing someone else's music. It should be your own, and that's just another beast in and of itself. But that was something I was realizing, is that I was reaching a ceiling very quickly. Like, I'm performing all this other stuff. I should really take a lot of time, not even play shows, just record my own stuff, write my stuff, and do it alone. Don't even do it with a band. Just write it and make your stuff, from start to finish. Create these songs, create a slew of content, and pursue that instead of just trying to play out all the time. Because that does get tiring.
It does. And we're like the Sex Robot Divas. That's like the area we're at is that we're all original.
Yeah.
We don't do any covers. That's my pickup line as a musician. I'm not a cover girl. But we got into this area where it was like we were opening up for certain bands that come into town.
Yeah.
Like from like the Acorn Theater. We played at the Acorn Theater. A lot of great music venue in Michigan where they bring a lot of Chicago surrounding bands in, Wisconsin, Minnesota. And we would do festivals, but we're not the band that's going to be able to hold the bar down until 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right. No, I feel that.
Without content at the same time, though. So that's where it hits.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Let's back up a second, though. Where did you come up with the name for your band?
Okay, so the band, the Sex Robot Divas, was actually originated by my guitarist, Matt Vitale. He's a science teacher. And there's actually science behind the whole concept. So sex, reproductive, I mean, that's what we're here for. Science. Robots, I mean, we're all on a timeline. We're all following the clock. We wake up, we do our thing. It's like we're all robots and do our thing. And then diva, let's face it, everybody wants to be a diva. You know, everyone wants to be noticed as something they do well. Like, everyone has some sort of diva in them, and that's a special thing, and everyone should own it. You should own your diva-ness, you know. So, Sex Robot Divas. And
you're saying it, though, with commas. You're, like, making them separate things. There's no commas in that name.
That's the whole concept, though, is make people think.
Okay.
I mean, you should see our band's Facebook page messages. They're very interesting. So we know there probably should have been commas.
All right, yeah. If I don't see those next time I check it out, then.
Well, they're private messages, but what we get in is interesting.
Okay, so your science teacher made that. Essentially,
Correct.
That's what you're saying.
My guitarist.
Cool. Yeah.
Lead guitarist of the band.
Okay.
And one of the writers, one of the core writers.
Nice. All right. Okay, but if you say he's one of the core writers, does he write like the instruments, or does he write like vocals or anything like that?
So
how does this band work when writing stuff?
So this is how the band worked. I was introduced to two of the guys, and pretty much came to them, and I was like, I've been writing music forever. I don't do anything with it, and started playing some of my music. So I bring a lot of music to the table, and then they also have brought music from the past that they have written, both lyrics and musically, to the table, and then we just combine the two. What we've been kind of interested in lately is that, as you know, like once you write a song, it can get very boring playing it over and over and over again. So like you want to continue writing. So we have made it to a thing where in band practice, it's like, let's spend this much time on just improv. Like, what can we come up with improv? Regardless if it be like lyrically, one of the guys is really great with lyrics. And so we'll just improv and like record it so that we don't get bored of just like repetitively doing the same thing over and over again. So it's like a collaborative, it's a collaborative project, I would say. When it was the full band, it was 3 core writers, which are now the 3, the 2 of them that I work with now. There are 2 of those core writers and myself. Okay. So it's just a collaborative project.
Okay, so you guys will come together and you to a degree, you try to improv it and just keep it fresh and new. Man, that's good because I can definitely feel. So when you've done stuff like that, do you feel like you've written some of your best work that way with that method? I mean, like, or do you just feel like you write stuff that's really cool and it goes down a different direction or a rabbit hole, and you're like, oh, this keeps the creative process super fun? Like, what does that do for you?
I think it's both. One of my favorite examples was I was out of town and they had improv without me, just musically. And I was listening to the recording while I was out of town, and I came back with full lyrics. So it's like,
oh, cool.
Even though I wasn't part of the improv and the instrument portion of it, I got to put lyrics to it, and It was fully done. And it's a fantastic song. It's a very interesting beat for us as well, like sound, not beat. It's a very interesting sound.
Right.
So it either keeps us creative and we finish something, or it just like, it keeps writers creative. So for me, like, as long as I get this much of improv and creativity, it's going to soothe my soul as a writer, because when I think of myself as a musician, I'm more of a writer. So like, today, if I could sell one song, if it was a movie, commercial, whatever it may be, I would be sold as a musician, because that's what I am as a writer, you know? So I could sell music or perform it each other way. So I think for writers, just to feel that 30 minutes of improv, even though if it doesn't come of something, I feel full. And so do they.
Okay. I like that. So it definitely keeps it very creative for you. I feel like I've run into that. I've run into a wall before at times, not with like writing stuff, but maybe it has to do with my style of how long I can perform in general with like other musicians or something. But I think if I keep that entire window very like slim, I think it's easier for me to like be more in my my state of writing more than having to perform. I think when I can kind of like separate those two and put myself in more of that creative flow, it's way easier to write stuff and like be creative and kind of be in my own realm with it to a degree. So I've noticed there's two different areas I've seen myself with like that kind of, well, one of them was kind of similar to, I guess, how you can come up with stuff like that. But when it's just me and I let the ideas flow and I'm not necessarily attached to it, I have a lot of stuff come through that makes it very easy to write and create stuff like kind of like that. I know you're saying you're able to take what they created in improv and just kind of like put lyrics to it and everything. But that's really cool. When I've spent too much time like performing and having to be out, for me it's really hard to actually write stuff. So when I can get away from that and stop doing it, I feel like that's when I can clear my mind to just like, okay, now I can write stuff. And I've had to like separate the two more and realize that before I had no idea.
Yeah, and that's important too. I feel like there was a time at band practice that my lead guitarist, Matt Vitale, said, he's like, just go home, take it home, and do your thing. So the majority of the music that we're working on right now is all written by me at home, and I bring it. So like if we're going to have a finished piece of writing, it's usually because I'm bringing it right now.
Yeah.
But that does not dismiss anything that they've done with some of our other songs, is what I'm trying to say. But I feel what you're saying, because like there's nothing more that's more creative sometimes than just being at your instrument and playing and, you know, writing. So I don't know. Writing's my favorite thing in the world to do.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you find it really easy to just kind of sit by yourself and make stuff, or is it better to like do it with people?
100% more easier for me to be by myself.
Yeah, I know there's like certain bands that can do that. I'm like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like I'm not able to totally be myself. I've thought about why that is, and to me that seems to be an issue. Where it's like I feel like I'm not able to totally go at it as hard if I have other people with me. And I don't know if that's just something I have to work through, but I feel like I have to just be alone.
It is really the improv writing was difficult for me, and I still have some reservations, but the musicians that I play with, that's one of their, that I guess if you were interviewing them right now and asked what is Stefani's weakness when it comes to music, improv is by far one of my weaknesses. Yeah. But I've learned so much playing with them. I've been playing music with them now for 7 years. Okay. And I'm lucky enough to say that I've organically been playing music with them for that long, because it's not every day that you can just like be in a band and everyone gets along and you guys have fun and you become best friends and you stay best friends and they show up. And you know, I think the whole thing has been so organic, which is not what I hear from other bands, but they would say that my improv was really rusty. And a lot of my improv rustiness came from because I'm the only one in the band that read music when I learned music. So I had structure and a lot of structure where they're just play by ear, picked it up, learned out through their other life where I was like, sit up straight, count out loud, do your thing, both in orchestra when I played the violin, because I played the violin for 7 years, and then also in piano lessons for the numerous amount of years that I played.
Can you still play the violin pretty well?
I can read the violin and I can play it. I think practice would make perfect. No one's perfect, but practice makes perfect, as they say. I did pick up a violin like 4 weeks ago, and I still can play some stuff, and I still definitely can read the music. So it just matters of taking the time to invest to perfect.
I always thought that would be a really interesting instrument to learn. That as well as the cello. I thought both of those would be super cool.
No, I'm kidding.
Whatever.
I love the cello. One of my best friends played the cello. We were in orchestra together, got a lot of trouble, but we got chosen to play a Christmas trio that was a viola, a cello, and a violin, and go through an historical neighborhood and play at homes for Christmas.
Okay.
And actually, the cello is one of my favorite instruments, and the guitar, but I don't play neither or. I mean, a little guitar, but that's just for fun.
Well, you should.
I should try.
If you were cool, you would. As far as like the new songs, do you have any that you specifically want to touch on?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the songs, so one of the first ones is a song that I wrote in 2020. It's called Feel Me. I think that any family out there or person has somebody, friends, family that goes through addiction of some sort, regardless of what that addiction may be. And I recognize that just from my own personal experience with family, friends, and myself. And so in 2020, I actually went through a long drought of like not drinking and just being completely like 100% like myself. Mm-hmm. And within that time frame, I wrote the song Feel Me. And I'm really excited about it because I played it out a few times recently and people relate to it. And when you can write music that people relate to and touch them, I think that's really important to take in consideration. And so I'm really excited about that song. It means a lot. It means a lot to others as well. Mm-hmm. So we have that song, Feel Me. Another song that's really interesting, I actually just wrote 2 weeks ago on spot, which I haven't done in a very, very long time. It's been a very long time. Like some of my songs I can write a little portion of them, and then the ending is not going to come till 2 years later. Like, because I don't force the writing. Like if I can't finish a bridge or I can't finish a lyric or I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I'm going to organically let it happen.
Yeah.
So this particular song, some of my band members had a close friend that had passed away. And, I don't want to give any names, but the interesting part about it is this person cast a lot of positivity. He was the fun one to be around. He always had a lot of joy to bring. He was also a musician as well. And I found it interesting to know that there's tons of people out there that are really happy in front of everyone else, and they are the one that everyone wants to be around. Mm-hmm. But yet behind closed doors, to them internally, it's still not enough. So I actually wrote a song about like that person that's like there for everyone, everyone's best friend, there to listen, always, there to care, laugh, have fun with. But yet in the behind scenes, it's still not enough. So that's a really interesting one that it really is like resonated with me on a few different aspects, but it was really written because of the way I felt for some of the people that I love. So that one's interesting. There's not really a title yet. I think it's going to be called Enough. We're thinking about that. So there's that one. And then, it's almost like there's a lot of corruption in my music lately. And then Bad Decisions, obviously, about self-destructive women. And a lot of that writing that's not really of just like my experience, but I have friends, obviously, that have been friends with a really long time, like longevity friends, like 20, 25 plus years. And there's some scars. And, there's a lot of women that walk into the room and everyone wants to be attracted to, like just personality, looks, stance, whatever it may be. Yeah. but yet let's show you the real show kind of thing. And like, there's still those scars to work on. So I took a lot of different experiences from them to write that song.
Okay.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Now, with those songs, do you ever find yourself like struggling to write the lyrics for those, or do you feel like a lot of that just kind of flows out naturally?
Like, it definitely flows out naturally, but I will struggle with certain parts of them. And when I write, I used to write music and I never wrote it down. Like, even though I was writing it, I never actually wrote it down. And my band members thought it was the weirdest shit they've ever. They're like, you don't have anything written down. I'm like, nope.
Yeah, I think the same thing too.
It's all up here. Like, you need to write it down. So I have been consciously practicing that behavior. But when I do it now, I'm writing every other line because I am not solidly, and I always like, there's every other line. And so even if I do write something, when I play it and I like rehearse it, I have to go back and make those changes. And that's why I have that empty line.
Okay. But even with that, you know, with however you choose to write that, your writing style, you feel like for the most part, a lot of the lyrics come out naturally and kind of like you can.
Majority of the time, 100%.
Yeah. And that it does like that when you feel like you've got a really good message of a song that you're like, you know exactly what you want to write about.
100%. I was listening to a podcast once and somebody said something and it said, if you're a writer in music, right? So it's easy. You want to give me the chords of something? Well, let's do it. That's easy. Playing anyone else's song is easy. But if you have the gift of writing, you have to share that with the world. And I think that's something really to take in consideration for writers because like, I didn't know at the age of 7 when I wrote my first song that it was going to be such a gift to share to the world. But now I get it. And like, it's not just like 1 or 2 songs. Like I have like probably 35 by right now, full songs and some little dibby dabbies, I like to call them. But like.
Call what?
Dibby dabbies. Fun like, to me. I was not finished whatsoever, but 30 to 35 finished. But you don't realize how much of a gift it really is to be able to write music organically. Again, I like to use that word because it's a special word. You don't know, it's a gift. So you
You're like
have
the
to
Whole
share.
Foods of songwriting.
It's like the Whole Foods.
So
but
organic.
if you have that gift, like, don't hesitate to share it with the world. And so for me, yes, like, the lyrics do come naturally. Like, I was on a run one day and I heard like something in my voice, like running, and then I went home and then I wrote music to it. I was like, awesome, this is great. Like,
Yeah.
And so it just depends on where I'm at and when it hits me, like when I'm gonna write.
All right. So one thing I want to expand on is I can either write a song, nail the lyrics, know exactly how I want the music, the drums, the bass guitar, how the guitar is like doing its fills and blah, 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 blah. I can nail all that because I know the point of the song. I know what I'm trying to deliver with this song or the mood. I know what words will match the mood and get the point across. If I don't have that defined from step 1, I typically don't finish the song. I don't know what it's about, or I don't have it very solidified. It's not concrete.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, no, not gonna finish it. But I've known how to figure out what I want a song to be because I have created songs where I have improv or I'm sitting there just fiddling with the guitar, playing something where maybe I put I never use a capo, and I put the capo in a spot where.
Let's see the capo.
And I've even gone as far as using a right-handed guitar because I'm left-handed. I'll have it upside down, right? I put the capo on like the 10th fret or whatever. I'm playing these weird chords, and I'll create something. And I'm like, that's really weird. This sounds like you would fit this type of mood and vibe, and then I can like sculpt it and create a little whatever around all of that. Then I can say, okay. If I'm interested in finishing it, I'm like, I want it to be this, and then I can like make it a thing. But if I'm starting from the beginning where like I've got some chords and maybe I have like sort of a melody, but I don't care about this, or it just doesn't have like it's not matching like, okay, here's something I really want to put out. and like create something with, it usually just flops and I leave it.
Yeah, and literally, it's the truth though. It's the mood. You're gonna feel it. Like if you're not feeling it, it's not gonna happen.
Good feeling it.
Again, it's like you can't force the writing, right?
Yeah.
So, there's like songs. It's so interesting. There's tons of songs that I've written that actually has nothing to do with my experiences. They're someone else's.
Yeah.
And you would think that those would be generally a more difficult project, but as an empath, because I feel like it's not, because that's the feeling. Like, so I am an empath, so I think I can write differently, even if it's not my experience, but you really do have to feel it. So I agree. If you're not in the mood and that's not what you're feeling, then it's not going to happen. And it's going to get set on the side burner for a long time. It might burn a little bit.
You said you're an empath, right?
Yes.
What's your sign?
I'm a Leo.
The Capricorn?
Leo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the guy in Titanic?
I don't know why I heard something else, but
It's DiCaprio.
Yes.
Yeah, we're on the same page.
We're on the same page, yes.
Okay, cool. That's good to know.
Yeah, I'm a Leo.
Okay. I'm a Capri Sun, so like, you know,
I can bring stuff. No, you did not. That's awesome.
I wouldn't make that up. So I'm a big deal is what I'm saying. So
Driven, focus. That's
yeah,
what you are.
yeah, you get it. So when it comes down to your band, the Sex Robot Divas, where is the future of it going? Like, what are you seeing for it right now?
So the vision right now is actually to be more of like a lounge acoustic set.
Okay.
What we had noticed is that when we were a full band, I would be the one going out majority of the time and play out at like open mics. Open mics have gotten me more gigs than probably anything else I've done.
Wow.
So like we got a gig from internet radio once. I did an open mic that internet radio was recording, and someone reached out. Some of our radio station interviews was actually because of open mics. So it's one of my favorite things to do. So what I would do is go out and represent the band and play the music myself, because I have a lot of music and I can play solo, and we would go and play. But what we noticed is that there were some gigs that didn't want a full band, and they wanted just like that acoustic feeling. So I would work with just like one or two of the guys in the band. Mm-hmm. We would do these acoustic sets, and we noticed that the audience reaction was a lot different. So we were in a lounge type environment than full band. And I also noticed that my music was recognized in a different manner as well. And then that's when we made the executive decision that I was done with a full band, like the whole shebang, and that we were going to do more of like an acoustic lounge set, which also gave us more of the travel freedom, because getting 5 people and a whole entire band and all the equipment to travel can be very, very difficult. So even downsizing in that way was really nice. And so the music that I write is more of that type of environment, of that lounge type environment.
Yes.
So you got to learn where you belong. You got to understand your audience. And so we took that change. And so the project now is more than acoustic type environment and lounge type gigs that we can get.
Okay, so let me back up for a second. You're saying that your music was perceived differently in that setting as opposed to a live band, correct?
Yes.
So how are you wanting your music to be perceived by people then?
Honestly, I just want them to feel it. I want them to hear it. I want them to dance or take it away and make them think about something that they resonate with. I mean, I don't particularly have an audience that I want them to perceive it as. I just want the music to make them feel. That is all. Like, it doesn't matter if they resonate with the lyrics or the actual music itself. I don't particularly need people to get up and dance to it or bob their heads to it. But if you get in front of an audience and the entire place is loud, and then all of a sudden you get silence, that kind of says something. And so that was a lot of the feedback that we would get when we would play in those lounge type areas, is with the full band, it's more like, you know, everything's going, and we would make a lot more of it, the more rock kind of sounding, the music. Where like when it was the lounge environment, it went from loud to listening. And that's a good feeling. Silence is good.
Okay. I mean, I can definitely understand that. And like, you know, I guess depends on the type of venue that you're in and what
100%.
people are trying to, like, if they're going there specifically to listen to an artist or a group, that they're like, hey, I want to listen to this, whatever they do. Or if they're like there with some friends, chill out and hang out. And then there's also music. So I guess it depends on like the kind of style and vibe you're going for with that. I've been on both ends of that, where people like specifically come to see you, or, you know, you're a solo artist, or you have a drummer with you and you're you're kind of like your background music.
Yeah.
And it just, and then on top of that, I've also gone to venues where the music is like extremely loud and like you can't hear anything going on. Like you can't hear the person next to you you're talking to.
Yeah.
So
That was kind of like where we were at. Is that a lot of people were giving us feedback that like the music was drowned out, like the lyrics. And not saying it was like the sound guy saw. It was really just the type of music. When I say lounge type,
yeah.
usually it's like our gigs are openers for like blues bands.
Okay.
Openers for like a little bit of slight classic rock type feeling, because we have a lot of music that can kind of sound like classic rock blues. But we could also totally be like, I don't know, in the side of some big hotel in Chicago and playing that type of lounge music. But what I'm hitting for when it comes to gigs is those smaller venues where you're the opener of these particular bands that come into our area.
Okay.
I think it's good enough.
Yeah. Yeah. If it's, if you feel like it's the right, you know, avenue for your music and you feel like you're in the right direction of it, then yeah, it's like keep going and doing your thing.
Yeah.
Feels right. Keep going. Okay, cool. Well, this is great having you on. I'm glad we got to go over Sex Robot Divas.
The Sex Robot Divas. Always gotta fight YouTube to put up the music, but it's okay. We'll win that fight.
Can we expect a date of any kind? Like here's when we can hear.
I'm shooting for Q1, Q2, 2023. That's really, I want to be solid on that. You know?
Okay. All right. Cool. Depending on when this goes up, who knows? Maybe there'll be something that drops along with one of your stuff. We'll see. We'll see.
Fingers crossed.
Okay. Cool. Good job.
Thank you.
Boom.